Hello and welcome to another episode of Altcoin Thursdays. I'm here with the Duck. As always, the show is brought to you by Woo. Links available in the description below. Be sure to like these videos and subscribe to the channel if you want to subscribe to the channel and not miss any videos. Intro stuff aside, Don, I'm looking at the market right now. As always, you were fudding the range low on BTC that it was going to break. The daily candle is green, and instead of buying altcoins, I was too busy panicking because I follow your Twitter religiously. And now the entire market's up, and I have no positions, and it's your fault. So I'm just wondering what your defense is, because this is the second time you've done it, right?
I mean, sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. You fudded this adamantium daily range low the last time we tested it as
Oh
well,
yeah,
and that
I
led to a
still.
giga bounce. And here we are again yesterday with your I wouldn't want to buy it chart, yet the daily candle is green. And if I leveraged my entire portfolio times 100 on altcoins, I'd be up at least $50. So
I mean, it's true. $50, $50. So.
$50 is $50. But I guess just to like frame this, right? So someone might be watching and saying, well, BTC is at a daily range low, right? It's some sort of support. Altcoins got wiped the fuck out. Like open interest halved. A lot of these like mega nuked, really huge moves. Why wouldn't someone be buying altcoins right now? Or should they? What do you think?
I mean, the problem with altcoins is that there's clearly no new buyers, right? Like that's one thing that we've seen. It's basically just money from crypto natives sloshing around, which is all fair and good when valuations are low. But given how the space has run, we need a little bit of outside capital to kind of keep valuations high. And at least in my opinion, we haven't really seen any outside capital step in on the altcoin front. We've clearly seen it on Bitcoin, right? But if you just look at ETH, and I think ETH is the best kind of indicator of that outside money coming in. It's a little bit of just generally like people are interested in altcoins, so might buy a little bit of ETH and then a lot of other shit. And so far, nothing of the sort has happened, right? We've seen underperformance by and large of the altcoins, and we have seen just Bitcoin just run away, right? And a lot of the altcoin holders might say, yeah, but I'm up in USD, or they might say, hey, I was in memes, I'm up like 20x, but that doesn't really reflect the market at large. So, like in my opinion, the reason why the altcoins are not as interesting as they could be is basically because if this range that you talked about, we do have a green candle right now, just barely, but we do have a green candle. If that green candle turns red, or just generally in the next few days, we get a little bit of a downside move. There's a good likelihood that the altcoins are just gonna disappear in comparison to Bitcoin. So the reason why you might not want to hold altcoins is because they're more risky than Bitcoin, and so far it's not been paying off. The reason why you would want to hold altcoins eventually is because if you can, like, if at some point in this market cycle, and you would kind of think that that happens at some point, people just kind of move into altcoins, the space starts getting normie attention again, then you're going to make more money on that. But I think for that, we would need higher Bitcoin prices. So if Bitcoin just teleports up again, that has not been good for altcoins generally. There's a few outliers, and every time I talk about altcoins generally, people are just kind of like jumping down my throat. Is that the saying? I don't know.
It
Jumping
is,
down,
yes.
yeah.
I mean, this show
Uh,
struggles with idioms historically,
uh,
but I think that's a valid one.
yeah. But it's true, right? Like, you look at Bitcoin dominance, and I fucking hate that chart. But if you throw up Bitcoin dominance, right? Like I've been saying that there's a good chance that altcoins are gonna get blasted while Bitcoin goes up, and people have been kind of like shit talking that for weeks and weeks. But if you look at Bitcoin dominance, which is a chart that is designed to go down, that's been in up only mode for basically since the Bitcoin up move started. So um, yeah, there's a few reasons why you would want to buy altcoins. I think it's a little bit early, just on the general altcoin side, right? Like if you have a specific altcoin that has good reason to go up, then be my guest. But if you don't, and you're just betting on the general market going up, I think it might be a little bit early. But I could be wrong on that.
Thing is, there's been so much dispersion in altcoins in general, right?
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah.
their price action and their returns. Where in the past, where people used the term alt season, it essentially meant you could do no wrong, and it was the sort of rising tide that lifted all boats, so on and so forth. You could throw anything at a dartboard on Binance, and whatever coin came out, you'd be up mega. But this time round, the coins that have a lot of mind share, market share, etc., have done really well. The whole like barbell portfolio meme. But if you didn't choose well and you were stuck in, old coins or Dino DeFi or whatever else, or to even some 2017 coins, so on and so forth, you've had a pretty shitty time.
Yeah.
Certainly against, I mean, even if you're up in USD, and a lot of these, well, certainly after after the last few days, you're not. But even in
Which is
BTC
wild,
terms,
right?
yeah, no, it's
Like,
unbelievable.
what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
BTC goes from like what 25k to 70k, and then your portfolio is like net down or something. That's a pretty
like,
impressive feat, right?
yeah, it's insane. Like, it's just, that's incredibly wild for me to see. Like, you just go through this list of altcoins, and even against USD, that like partially, like if you look at Atom USD, Atom was one that was shielded quite heavily on pretty much anywhere. That's back to where it was in October of 2023, right? Like, that's insane. So much shit happened since October 2023 on Bitcoin. Like you said, it went from 25 to 70k,
Yeah,
and it's still trading at above 60k, and you got none of that even if you bought the lows on Atom.
it's
So
unreal, isn't it?
yeah, and
Cosmos season, as people were saying.
yeah, I mean, a few of the Cosmos plays on the ecosystem, like as in like the Atom ecosystem, whatever.
Because that's a
Um,
real thing.
yeah, they're actually like, if you few did decently, and they had a bunch of airdrops, so it's not as bad as it looks,
Right.
but it's still quite bad. And that's not the only one, right? Like, you can go through the list, and there's a handful of ones that outperformed, but by and large, and I think the problem is because you compared it earlier to 2017, 18, old season, whatever. The problem is that we have so many coins now, right? Like, back then we had a lot of coins, but nothing in comparison. There was like 1,000 coins that were actively traded. And nowadays there's like unlimited amounts of coins. Like, people come up with 100 coins a day, like the meme coin meta, where you like just literally just take any meme, and then you have 10 iterations of it, and people flood into all of those. 9 get rugged, 1 survives, or like 99 get rugged, 1 survives. That runs up and then full retraces. Like, it's so short lived, and the money just goes in so many people's pockets, and it's not as centralized as it was back then, that it's really, really hard for these things, like for the entire market, to catch a bit, right? Because it just disappears in memes. It disappears, like all that money disappears in voids, and people buy Lambos with it, after rugging other people. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're kind of like, why the altcoin front has been struggling. And it's not great, because you like literally money leaves the ecosystem and it's not coming back. And people get burned. And like, I've seen a lot of people kind of make the argument, yeah, meme coins, people getting onboarded, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, it's a bunch of money flowing into pockets of like scammers ish. And like, obviously, if you trade it, you make money, cool. But you have to realize that these are all zero sum games, if not even negative, and that the deployer or whatever of a lot of these coins just runs away with the money, right? And they're not gonna put it in crypto and just kind of like speculate on that. They're gonna buy themselves like a car or whatever.
Or a
Seen that plenty
penthouse
of
in
times.
Dubai that gets flooded. If that
Exactly.
shit doesn't make you religious, Don, I don't know what will.
I mean, it's great. It's great.
God's
All
wrath
people,
is back, baby.
all the people go to Dubai. I don't want to shit talk everyone that goes to Dubai, but it's the grifter paradise. And
I think Dubai attracts the worst out of every industry.
oh
That
yeah,
seems to be a trend that I've noticed. Like the worst crypto people, the worst like fitness influencers, whatever whatever industry you happen to be in, they're not sending their best to Dubai. Well, just put it that way.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to shit talk it too much, but I mean, you kind of like, you have to be a certain type of person to move to the middle of the desert where it's unlivable like half the year anyway, where there's realistically, like, I mean, nature-wise, just nothing, right? Like, I mean, I've been there. I've found it horrendously depressing, just to avoid taxes, right? Like a person that does that is a certain certain type of person, I would say, most of the time, not all of them, but most of the time. And that kind of, I mean, a lot of these people are just also not that great, right? Like the combination of you go to a shitty place to not pay taxes, like that's generally, I think, like that overlaps with just being a shitty person in general a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
I mean, it wouldn't be Altcoin Thursday if we didn't get Don moralizing in broad strokes. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is
Just
par for the course. Before we
how
lose
it goes.
absolutely everyone, I think in general I mean, you're right. I mean, the market, the story of the market has almost been like a stock picker type of thing, right?
Yeah.
There are a few large caps that have like carried the disproportionate amount of the altcoin returns and the ecosystems within those. But if you were hoping for an alt season where you can do no wrong, that illusion has been shattered. And I think that's definitely in part because we have so many coins now. I think in general also the narratives are very concentrated as opposed to a broad alt season type of thing. I think the absence of new money / retail directly into altcoins is also responsible for that. So you had to stay on board on top of basically crypto native type of rotations because you weren't getting like the retail en masse rotations, at least into the high and mid caps, right? I disagree that we didn't get any retail. I think a lot of the ETF flows, just people buying through BlackRock, and I think retail did get onboarded into meme coins. But if you're someone who took your 2017, 2018, maybe even 2021 playbook into 2024, it's been kind of rough, I feel, where you just kind of assume ETH outperformance, assume that the high caps are all going to get lifted, and it's going to be like the risk curve of BTC, ETH, high caps, mid caps, and so on. A lot of those assumptions kind of just went out the window. So if you picked wrong, even if your directional bias for the market being bullish for 2023, 2024 was right, you've not done particularly well.
No.
And that's trickier than usual, right? Like in the past, if you get the BTC call right, then you just buy altcoins and you make more because they're more volatile. That's literally always been the playbook, but not this time.
No, it's been a little bit more challenging, which is not that's not necessarily bad. And I do agree with you. Like I would say retail, like some retail has come in. I just want to like clarify that point because I think considering where we are with Bitcoin, like trading at 60, 70K, you would expect it to be more, right? Like that's kind of where I'm coming from, where like back last time when we were at 60, 70K, the world was going crazy over crypto. Right now, it seems very muted. And that's kind of what I'm commentating on, being a lack of retail, because compared to where we are and compared to what the market caps are, there's really not that much of a frenzy going. Like DeFi was absolutely fucking insane. Everyone was in that.
Oh, for sure.
And now we have we have like 5 meme coins where like a handful of people lose their pensions or make a bunch of money. I don't know.
Or
I
make
wouldn't
their
necessarily
pensions, yeah.
yeah. I wouldn't necessarily compare the two. Like it's not
Sure.
in the same on the same scale, and that is weird given we have made a new all-time high.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when I guess the pool of money is concentrated around fewer assets, right?
Yeah. And also I think like just in general, like a lot of people just gamble on the traditional markets now. Like you see a lot of like option trading, you see like
Zero DTE shit, that type of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Sports
Like
betting as well doesn't even have to be financial markets,
yeah.
right?
I think just generally like the whole like you gamble with crypto has just moved to like people gambling on stocks, people gambling with sports betting. Like it's everything is crypto now. Like instead of how it used to be where you just go to crypto when you have a bunch of money to lose and suddenly you're 100x richer than you were before. And now it's like you just get picked off by by these platforms where you can trade on stocks or gamble or whatever before you even make it to crypto, which I think is quite bad. Like I generally see the whole movement into gambling that like just occurs everywhere as quite worrying, and that's coming from someone trading crypto.
I was gonna say, don't pull the ladder up behind you too quickly, Don.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite brutal, right? When you see people sports betting, just like that, for example, is one where I'm like, poof, like that. It's quite hard to justify. I think
I
like
don't
it's
know. I
better
was
to.
enjoying Gainsey's bets on Nicaraguan softball
Yeah.
parlayed into Taiwanese ping pong tournaments or whatever the fuck with like 300k.
I mean, better to just buy, like, I mean, at this point, obviously not, but better to gamble your money into like some meme coin, at least like a couple of months ago. Now that seems like a pretty bad idea, but yeah,
Hyper
at least,
gamification, Don. It should make
yeah.
hyper gambleification, hyper speculation, whatever. Shouldn't that make you bullish meme coins?
I mean, technically, yeah. I generally think, like, for example, I think Dogecoin has like quite a bit of upside once we see another push on Bitcoin up. I still don't think that the Bitcoin cycle high is in already. I think that is like still to come, and I still think that there will be like a move into crypto again from like the masses at that point, and I think that will be decent for at least some of the meme coins. Um, so technically, yes, it's just they just went through a massive leg up, right? Like WIF went absolutely ballistic and it's now kind of like dropping like a rock. It's one of the ones I think we should talk about today. Like just one, because we were right last time, we were like lower high kind of shit, and now it's down from there like 30% and was down 50% at some point.
It trades super fucking well, though. Have you noticed?
Yeah, it's quite
It's
clean.
very technical, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fuck all else, right? So kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to value in this thing, right? Whether the hat is on or not?
Yes,
Because
whether
I think,
Ansem's asleep or whatever, yeah.
yeah, that makes me so fucking bearish. Like,
I hope he gets out of this okay as a main
uh,
character. Because he's
I
been like
don't think
hyper
so.
main charactered at this
Yeah.
point. I mean, people are doing absolutely insane shit that I wouldn't wish on anyone. Just straight up like effectively doxing his family members and making meme coins out of them, you know?
Yeah.
He's
I don't
playing
think this
into it a
can
little bit
end
with like
well.
his cat and stuff and kind of playing along, but that can't be comfortable, right?
No. I mean, I don't think it can end well just by like when people hoist someone up that much
Hmm.
and just kind of like celebrate them as a hero in a space as volatile as crypto. Like we know like the stuff that he's been shilling, right, has gone up a lot, but it's all like vapor, right? Like at the end of the day, like at the end, once the cycle is through, right, and the bear market comes, and I think that will happen eventually. We all know that WIF is going to go down 90, 95, 99%, right? And at that point, whether he shielded at 0.01 or if he shielded at 5 really doesn't make a difference to people that just got completely obliterated. And he's kind of the face of it all for the retarded, right? Like just how it is. Like people are just like, oh yeah, he shielded early. Now he's shilling it at 1, at 2, at 3. I'm guaranteed to make money, but at some point you're not, right? And I don't think he's in a position necessarily to just be like, hey, yeah, maybe you all should just sell. I don't think
Like the trade is done, you know.
yeah, like I don't think he can anymore. Just by, I mean, he could, but I don't think when you're in the headspace that he's in, and when you're kind of like doing what he's doing, which is just completely leaning into all of that, I don't think he can necessarily get out of that well. And then people are gonna blame him for what happens after, whether he shielded, like I said, before 1000x, 10,000x really doesn't matter as long as he keeps shilling it, which I don't think he will necessarily stop. And then you're gonna get a bunch of idiots basically, and that's how it's been happening every single cycle. This is why people say don't become like the main character,
Yeah.
because no matter how well you do, and no matter how well you kind of call the market, once it's all said and done, people are gonna shit on you for it. And the more popular you are, the more you're gonna get. And he stalks too, right? Like he stalks. People know him. So like I wish the best, but I don't think like I would not want to be in that position for all the money in the world. Like I really don't see the risk to reward on all of this. But
I mean,
yeah,
we sure love to build people up before knocking them down, type of thing. And I think you raise a good point. You kind of can't win, right? Because if I were him, and to his credit, and I think this is important, a lot of his cult of personality started from very bold, well-expressed, liquid, high cap type of trend reversal calls, right? Solana and Coin being the most sort of notable one of those. And he fucking nailed that trade. Like absolutely crushed. And then it rotated into Solana ecosystem as a, subcategory of that. But I essentially agree. It doesn't matter. Like if you've bought his first whiff tweet and you're still holding, you're up an unquantifiable amount, right? And same with a bunch of other meme coins. And even if you followed the liquid stuff, like what you felt like was late to Solana and Coin, like those are all really fucking good calls. But someone's going to buy the top eventually, right? And the market's going to correct eventually. And then the look back period just becomes fundamentally unfair, where it's like, oh, look, this thing is down 60, 70% from its high, and you're the face of it. Therefore, it's your fault / you're a fucking idiot. And then, God forbid, you try to make a nuanced argument that, hey, I've been in this trade since this period, and I've got this risk off, take profit tweet and whatever else, overall you'd still be up. Like no one has time for that, right? It's just much easier to look at TradingView and be like, you were talking about it and now it's down. It's effectively your coin. Fuck you. Which is rough. I mean, I still meme on him purely tongue in cheek for DeFi Kingdoms, right? And like Jewel and stuff. But when he was making that call from the low to its top, it went up like, I don't know, many multiples, right? But it's just so easy to engage that kind of stuff in bad faith once the market turns and ignore when the original call was made and then just essentially circle on someone once the entire market's down. And I don't think he's getting like whatever retail is coming, they're coming through him, it feels like. He's getting like 30k followers a week or something insane. So, and from my observation of his comment section, they may not be the brightest market participants.
No, they're completely lost.
I think they owe the market some tuition, and when they pay it, who are they going to blame? That said, by his own admission, we get some pretty good market signals from him. When people are very publicly filleting him, that happens near local tops. And then when the racial slurs come out, that happens near the lows. So there's some sort of indicator there that can be built, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's awful. It's scary as well, because seeing someone get main charactered and essentially waiting to see how it resolves is never fun. Maybe he just becomes fucking mayor of New York or something and politics his way out of it.
I mean, I hope it all goes well at the end of the day, but I just I know how dumb people on social media can be, and I know especially how dumb these people are that join now, like you said. It's actually incredible. I had the fortune of having a bunch of these basically back in 2018-19, when I was bear posting a bunch. I had the exact same followers, just in inverse, right? And they go quite dumb. It's actually quite insane how deluded some people can be. Obviously, a lot of good people followed me back then too, but wishing him the best. See how that goes, and it's gonna be an interesting one.
It's gonna be something, that's for sure. Don, we've done the classic of
not talking. Yeah,
pretending we know more than a fucking candlestick make boing. God forbid being in this space for 7 years gives rise to some opinions. Just draw on the fucking chart, you clowns. I can hear the audience thinking. So let's give them what they're here for. Especially because we've got a long ass show to do tomorrow.
Yes.
In the form of Casual Friday. So I'm not going to spend too long on BTC, given that's tomorrow's discussion. We talked about it a little bit. ETH, I think, is worthwhile. I don't know what you think of this do or die support that I talked about on Monday markets, which is that daily cluster between 2,900 and 3K.
On USD, yeah.
Yeah, ETH USD daily, 2,900 3K daily cluster.
Yeah.
That really feels like the only spot for any type of bounce. There's even that structure feels like a bit of a stretch, but there's really nothing else that is compelling. And even that, looking at that daily cluster on the weekly, you kind of have to make a educated guess as to whether weekly support is broken or not, right?
Yeah.
Because 3K, technically we closed above it last week and we're retesting it now. Remember your whole 2, 3, 4K meme thesis?
Yeah.
I guess would you still count this as in the 3K portion, fighting for its life?
Yeah, it's fighting for its life, I would say.
Okay.
But I mean, it obviously doesn't look that great just based on the fact that we've tested this level a bunch of times now,
Yeah, but
right?
you
Like
said that last time, Don, and we bounced on BTC, and we were
oh,
getting comments on Casual Friday being like, I sold because these retards were bearish, and why the fuck did I watch this show?
well, I mean, we're back here now.
Always bearish at support.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you make it. You bearish at support, bullish at resistance. No, I still think. I mean, it is support, right? Whenever I say like I don't like the support, because we've tested a bunch of time, it's still support, right? So you can still get bounces. Obviously, it's just the more often you test the support like this, the riskier it is that you just buy it and it basically disappears the next second, right? As in, like, let's say we bounce from 3K again this week, and then we come back next week or the week after. At that point, if you buy it again, it's been tested so many times. You have a bunch of people kind of like betting on that line holding, but you have a bunch of people just selling into it. If that breaks, you're going to teleport, right? And that's a really shitty position to be in. That's why I like to kind of like buy the fresh tests of the level, because at that point you kind of have bid support on one hand, and no one kind of with you on that position in the first place, so no one's really gonna get fucked from that support buy. But the third or fourth or fifth test, you have a bunch of people basically in the same position that you are, right? Like you're accumulating all of those positions along the way, and if it breaks, you're kind of just like you're sitting there, you don't have liquidity to get out of the position, or just in general, like it just teleports, and then you have to think about whether you want to close the position 5% lower. Obviously, the same applies for resistances, right? Like when you test the resistance a bunch of times, you have a bunch of people short from that level, and then you can teleport high. That's why I say what I say. That doesn't mean that the support has to break or not. It just means it's a shitty support to trade.
It's like beating up levels are scary.
Yeah, it's just shit. Like you have a bunch of people basically praying that the level is gonna hold, right? Like that's the situation we're in right now. The first time we tested it, right? When you look back on the weekly candles on ETHUSD, on the 18th of March, that wick that we had, right? You don't have anyone really, like the people that were in danger of getting fucked got liquidated into the level, and then on that test, you didn't really have anyone in distress, and you get a nice bounce out of it. And then the second time you hit it, which happened on the 8th of April, weekly candle, you can see that like the appetite for this is much less, and the people that bought like on the 18th of March or just generally in that range, they're obviously going to start sweating, right? And then we have another weekly candle, this current one, where everyone that bought this level is now like barely above water, if at all, and they've had enough time to get into it, like into the trade, and it just like that there's a bunch of people in distress. That doesn't have to mean they're gonna get taken out. It just means that if they get taken out, you get taken out with them, and then you have to kind of calculate your risk very differently. The first test might seem more dangerous, but it's way less. This test where people are like, oh, this is a valid level. Look, it's been tested like 3 times. It's much more scary than the ones before, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and it also makes sense that we'd FUD another bottom at support on
Yeah.
on this YouTube channel. So just for posterity's sake, it'd be nice to put in a face melting bounce. See what the
I'm down. I like. It'd be interesting to get a little bit of rally into the halving.
It would, yeah, and I will comment under your tweet saying it doesn't look good because it's been tested so many times, as real friends do.
Oh, you should.
On the altcoin front, I sent you a WhatsApp asking which ones to talk about, and you were like,
Oh
"I
yeah.
don't know, lol. Stop talking to me outside of the show. Who do you think you are?" So that sort of makes my job very difficult. But at least the altcoins that we've spoken about in the past, we've spoken about Dogecoin before, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
For God knows what reason, you've spoken about Lido before.
Oh yeah.
Pepe is another one. Solana, and let's talk about With.
We can talk about it with, yeah.
Should I add anything else to the list?
No, no, no. I think it's only gonna get more and more depressing the
Mate,
more
some
you
of these
add.
are absolutely fucking shocking.
Oh,
Like, have
horrendous.
you looked at Arbitrum at all?
No, but
I mean, just take a look.
okay. I mean, I'm guessing it's very similar to Atom. Oh yeah, that's might even be worse. Holy fuck.
It's like that's it. You've made like crypto went up to made new all-time highs, and you've made no money. You know, like obviously assuming you didn't take profit and all this other stuff, but like that's this alt wipeout was actually pretty fucking huge.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did AVAX do? Yeah, AVAX also just like gave back a lot. This is a pretty fucking meaty move. Out of that list though, you said Dogecoin was going to $1.
Yeah.
You said that you would refund anyone who buys it, and if it doesn't go to $1 by the end of the year, you'll pay them back double. Do you remember that episode?
I really don't remember that one.
Right, it must have been one of the unpublished ones. Has your view changed at all? Because we all know nothing changes a long-term outlook like a short-term price move. So I'm wondering, at least in terms of TA stuff or whatever else, any updated Dogecoin update, please, to borrow
Oh
from
yeah, a
Twitter.
lot of people have been asking me for this. Like I kind of want to buy like a bunch more. What you have kind of like
Sorry, mate, you cut
a
out. You
range
went,
high.
you went Mr. Robot on me there. I couldn't hear you. You want to buy
Uh,
where?
yeah, if you look on at 0.1,
Oh,
if you look
fucking knew it.
if you look at Doge USD on the weekly time frame,
Yeah,
you have a little bit of like some sort of range high,
sure.
0.11 ish, and I bought a bunch at 0.15, where we are pretty much exactly right now, like before the up move, and now still hold it, but it's very little in comparison to what I want to have. So if I'm just hoping that it goes lower, basically anywhere between 0.09 and 0.11, anything in there, I would be more than happy to kind of like take a stab at, and then kind of like 10x my position, like basically like to the size of where I want to be. And if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna be sad, but it's okay. So I'm kind of like with the Doge position, I just like you described it pretty well. Like I think 2 weeks ago, like a retard hedge. Basically, if the market goes full retard, I want to have at least a little bit. Um, and yeah, if it goes lower, I can make it into a proper position, and that would be around that. Right now, obviously, doesn't look that great, but I think it's gonna be a nice one at 0.1. If you look back through previous like runs that it had, oftentimes it kind of just like sucks for a while before going higher. So that's kind of what I'm playing on Doge. Still think it's gonna go higher if, and I mean this is a big if the cycle is not finished yet on Bitcoin, and I don't think it is. So it makes sense to me to kind of bet on Dogecoin down the line, and like a 40-50% pullback would do the trick.
Makes sense. So you started scaling in, as all our favorite traders like to say, Don.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even start to scale in. I tried to buy and didn't get as much as I wanted, and
Can
I
you
was
just
like,
put in
"Fuck
some
it."
fucking market orders on my ref link like a real man instead of this trying to buy thing? There's no try, there's only do, Don. You should know
No,
this.
no, but I'm totally fine with that. Like, I think generally, it's gonna be structurally, it's gonna be more interesting if it does pull back. So that's kind of what I'm hoping and waiting for. And
Okay. And
if
target, sir, $1.
$1, like,
But you always say this and then front run the fuck out of your own targets.
oh yeah, I could see myself sell like,
50
I'm
cents,
looking at the
60
chart.
cents.
Yeah, like 70, I think
Okay.
maybe. But that is for for the future Don to decide. Like
Future
I don't
Don to
know
justify.
yet. But like this is a little bit of a high time frame kind of view that I have. So it's not urgent.
Sure. Okay. So the retard hedge is still alive. Good to know. Your favorite coin and the best price action of 2023 and 2024, Lido.
Oh yeah,
This coin is not cursed at all, Don. Not.
Oh, it is utterly cursed.
It must have some of the worst price action ever. I mean, this thing just refuses to trade.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I think it's gonna be like if you do like Lido USD divided by Bitcoin USD to make the Lido Bitcoin chart. I don't know if there's actually like a Lido Bitcoin chart. That's why I do it this way.
Oh, I just opened the Bitfinex one. I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, is there one?
Yeah, just don't look at it.
Oh yeah, there is.
There's a prophecy wick there, Don.
Oh yeah, fucking horrendous.
I mean, Lido USD against BTC is like a full retrace type of deal, no?
Yep, that's quite bad.
TradingView says it's at 0.
Yep. Yeah, that one's quite bad. I think generally that's gonna pick up the moment ETH turns around.
Oh, I see. So this is like if BTC decides to come back to life, then
yep.
Okay,
yep.
Fine. Is that the same reason you give a shit about Uni?
Yeah, but right. Uni I think has gotten considerably worse with the action against them.
Like SEC stuff, yeah.
The SEC, not because I think the Uni is gonna lose, just because I think it's gonna be muted price action until they win, and then once they win, it's gonna be good price action, obviously. But it's kind of like in the XRP camp now. And if you remember back, like XRP got basically, won the case, but it took them like how long? Like a year plus, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. It took a while.
And I don't necessarily want to be in like an altcoin trade for that long. Like,
it wouldn't be the first time you dropped out of Uni, Don.
Fuck you.
Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, for the record, I didn't drop out. I dropped out voluntarily. Is that the same thing?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, well,
I didn't say you got kicked out.
Fair enough. It's better.
Pepe, this was one of the few coins that I could pry out of you as a constituent of the retard hedge. It's looking increasingly retarded, which may be actually quite appropriate.
It is. It's the fucking frog coin.
It is the frog coin. Is there any... Dogecoin, you were comfortable enough to give some sort of weekly market structure levels to it. And to Dogecoin's credit, that there's... there are real levels there, that makes sense. If you viewed it like without the ticker or in its own terms. It's a bit more difficult for Pepe, I think. Not least because of the price history and whatever else. Is there any TA related stuff that you'd highlight, or is this the kind of thing where if you think BTC has hit support, you're like, fuck it, I'll just add to the retard hedge here on a correlated basis?
Yeah, I think on the TA side of things, if you go on the weekly chart, basically prior high, like the highest close.
Oh, the highest close.
Which is very fucking bad for price.
What, like 280?
Yeah.
So another halving.
Yeah, but we're going through a halving soon, so
that's true. Halving soon. Half your coins disappear. That's crazy.
Exactly. So I think like that would be where you just kind of buy and pray, if you want to buy something really dumb. Other than that, I fail to see a good way to get into this. So,
well, the correlation meme can always save you, right?
Yes, basically. I think that's the best way. Like you said it well. Like once you think Bitcoin has bottomed, that's not the worst. And like I talked about this on yesterday's show, where I was like, technically Bitcoin is on monthly, weekly, and daily support. So if you want to make that bet now, it's not the worst in the world. It's just if you're wrong, you're gonna be, you're gonna get that 40% pullback on stuff like Pepe, I think, and then that's not gonna be too nice.
Yeah, I think these types of moves are very difficult if you're in a bad position, which sounds very self-evident, but these especially suck. Because let's say you're holding from a bad entry, and you take a pretty big hit on this type of move, And I know you've been there before. I've certainly been there before. Virtually every trader has. But it's that feeling of, okay, what the fuck do I do now? Right?
Yeah.
Like, do I just market sell here and get it over with? Do I wait for a bounce to sell? What if I don't get the bounce and it just keeps going and I should have sold when I felt like I was late, but I was actually early without the benefit of hindsight, future price action? You know, like all this shit that goes through
Yep.
your head. It's actually very paralyzing to be in that position. And the only thing that makes it worse is if you had a plan to sell and you didn't follow it, and then it fucking nukes. Because then you have the
Yeah.
extra factor of feeling like a fucking idiot for not following your plan in the first place. And now you're paralyzed having to deal with an entry that you shouldn't be dealing with in the first place if you'd followed your plan. And I
Yep.
feel like this is how a lot of this is how you kind of get caught off sides on trend forming moves or trend reversals. It's the same with like on the bullish side, right? Where you're like, okay, this resistance is going to hold. And then it carries you out, like the market breaks out and you think, okay, fuck, I was wrong. Do I like close my short and then do I wait for a retrace or a bounce? Do I just like bite the bullet and close? And once you start forcing yourself to think 2-3 steps ahead, like, okay, I was wrong, but it'll retrace and then I'll close. And then it goes up again and you're like, oh my fucking God, like this is the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
That's why these, I guess, dated trading pieces of advice, like, oh, have a plan and follow your plan. There's a lot of wisdom baked into that. But that wisdom doesn't mean shit until you've experienced stuff like that firsthand. I think that's really the only way you can learn it. Like you never understand the importance of a trading plan until you're faced with a situation where you're oversized and you have no plan whatsoever. And then you're like,
And
oh,
everyone's
that's
been
what they
in that.
meant. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the longer you trade, I mean, there's guaranteed like times where I think anyone that's traded has been in that position.
Oh, for sure.
Where you're just like, maybe you even have a plan, but you kind of throw it overboard because you think you know better. And yeah, like you said, that's the worst. And then you get completely rolled and you're just sitting there. And I think that's how a lot of people get stuck in their biases as well. Like they actually have like an idea of where they should be getting out, like where they would be wrong. But then they're like, but now it's such a like so much of a better trade, right? Like now it's down like discounted 10% more than it was when I bought. I wish I could buy now. And then you just stick with it, and then you just get completely rolled. Or you at some point you just like, fuck it, like I cannot take this anymore, and then you just close at the worst possible time.
I'm sure this is hurting a lot of audience members who've been there, but
I mean, I've been there.
we've all been
Like
there.
I've been
live there,
sitting in.
dude.
I've been in the position before where I'm like, I just want to get out of this. Like even if it bounces now, like I don't give a fuck. I just want out. And then you close it and immediately it just teleports up, and you're like, fuck. But it's just shit happens, right? And you learn from it. But it does take a little bit of time to kind of get used to everything that trading has to offer.
Yeah, and all
Yeah.
it takes at the same time.
Yeah.
Solana is one of the more interesting charts, Don.
As in shitty ones.
Well, as a weekly time frame enjoyer, what do you think of the 135 level?
135.
That weekly second test, best test, you know?
Oh, actually, I don't mind it. I actually don't mind
That's
it.
it. Don's bullish soul. Just buy soul shit coins. That's how
Yeah,
that
I mean,
works, right?
this is like this. Now that you've mentioned it, like this is the level to hold, right? So
You're
if
welcome.
that fails, I think like, and this is no joke.
Oh, here you go. Here comes the month. Don't say monthly support. I swear to God.
No, monthly support is too far. I mean, monthly support is actually monthly support is nice because monthly support is 100 now, like $100.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose it is. Yeah.
So I actually like the monthly support. Like if that fails where we are right now, I think you're gonna get to buy below 100.
Nice round number meme as well.
Yeah, like 95, like capitulate to 95 or 90. I think that would be quite clean. But right now we're at support. And it's actually, in comparison to the one that we had on Bitcoin, it's actually a decent looking one. So yeah.
It's the bear tard hedge, Dom. You know, get on Altcoin Thursday and Casual Friday, just bear tard. But then there's one timestamp talking about Solana looking good at support, just in case.
Yeah, just to make sure that I don't get grilled by the Solana idiots, because by God, I cannot take much more of that.
Yeah, you've been having a fun time. Sol ETH and that whole saga. God.
Oh, I was bear tarding Sol ETH, and then it nuked. And then it went back up, and you would not believe what I got thrown at me. And now it's actually below where I was bear charting it. So like I'm expecting letters of apology.
I'm sure you'll get them. Yeah.
I mean, it's only, to be fair, it's only down like 5%.
Yeah, but on 100x, that's pretty sizable returns.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll just ignore that one. But no, it's at support. The thing is, look at Sol BTC.
Oh god, you always find a way, Don.
No. I mean, the Bitcoin pairs is not. I always find a way. This is the most important chart. Like the USD pair is interesting. The Bitcoin pair.
I mean, it doesn't look terrible. It's trying.
I mean, that sounds like you're talking about a child.
Yeah, like I'm give this child a participation trophy. You know, we never expected much in the first place. The fact that it showed up is already an achievement.
Yeah, it's trying, but the fact that it's kind of full retrace, that green candle, that impulse green candle off of support is a little bit scary, and the fact that there's nothing for quite a while underneath that support is also a little bit scary, but it is at support, right? And this is kind of the name of the game of the show right now.
For sure,
I think.
yeah.
Like everything's at support, but it all looks like shit. Now the question is that just because like it's at support, and to be at support you kind of need to go down to be at support, right? Yeah. Or is it because everything is just gonna teleport down? And I'm not entirely sure which it is. Hard to say. Like I don't, that's why I don't want to FUD too hard at support, but also like at least on the Bitcoin front, that support kind of looks not suspicious. So great. Yeah, but yeah, I still think, and this is something that I said yesterday, that if you then like you watch this thing and then you just at the end at support you decide to short it, I think that's a little bit foolish. And that's coming from someone that oftentimes says like it's at resistance, but I mean it seems like a decent long.
I mean,
right?
You love your breakout buys more than your breakdown sells, right?
Yeah, like I think you can be right, but if you're wrong, like you just look like an absolute moron. And I'm on the breakout side of things, like you're just like a hopeful kind of guy, you know, like
yes,
you're like this guy is like, oh, is this resistance, but life is so great, fuck it, we roll.
Life and is then short, go long.
Yeah, and then you're at support and you're like, oh, this is gonna break down. It's just European, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But also,
it's
can the Americans stop selling during their trading hours? Like, as much as we love to meme the Euros as sort of Europeans ourselves, the
Euros just don't have anything left to sell, so the Americans are standing in.
Yeah, this is like the war effort, you know. They come in towards the end with all their money and resources. I agree though, thematically that just seems to be the name of the market right now, where it's like, yeah, stuff is at an extreme, and at extremes, ordinarily, if it's first test, best test, you shove because that's the best validation you're going to get. But if it's third, fourth, fifth, whatever type of test, then you're like, you can still shove based on proximity to invalidation. But I would ordinarily, I don't even trade those setups anymore, but if I were trading a level that was really beaten up and I really wanted to buy it, I would like half my size usually as a sort of eyeball amount, because I know the slippage that I'm going to incur and the probability that I eat shit and get a really bad fill price if that multi-week, multi-month range breaks down, that's going to be, the execution is just going to be a lot worse, right? It's the whole teleport thing that you talked about. So you can mentally account for that type of stuff and say, yeah, okay, third test, fourth test, it looks shit at support, whatever, fuck it. You guys keep saying it's at support, so I'm going to buy support. I don't think that's like a terrible idea. I would just size it differently than you would the first test of that same level.
Yeah. Basically, I mean that's perfectly said.
And we could do the whole like performative. Okay, well here's the daily support, and if you see good absorption, whatever the fuck that means, then buy it.
What the fuck?
And then if it breaks down, you could sell it. But then if it breaks down, then it reclaims, you can buy it. But if it breaks down, reclaims, but makes a lower high and breaks down again, then you sell it. Like, okay, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what's the point of this show at that point? You know?
Yeah.
That's a very arbitrary exercise. So we could do all the fucking box rectangle level drawing with all these possible permutations of the market, but it's just not very useful. And I feel like it's insulting to our audience's intelligence as well. You know. But if you want that kind of stuff, let us know and we'll ignore you because I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah, because fuck you.
But yeah, that's that. I mean, that's the reality of it. You can't. You have to make a bet at some point. If you're gonna wait, like I also don't like this meta of everyone saying, "Oh, you don't have to like predict. You have to just react." It's fucking dog shit nonsense, isn't it? Like at a certain point, your job as a speculator is just to, especially if you're a directional trader, like at a certain point, you have to put your balls on the line and make a bet as for what the market is going to do. You can't sit there in your enlightened agnosticism and be like, anything could happen anywhere at any time and I'm just going to try to follow along. That's not what trading is fundamentally. That just means you're a pussy.
It means you're going to be late by design. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And you know, we could do the whole like, oh, this is the daily support, but let's go down to the 5 minute, and if this setup plays out, it means the daily support is holding. You know, like, oh god. There are some people who I know who are good at trading that type of way, but they're by far in the fucking minority. You know, where you have enough low time frame mastery not to get caught up in the noise of trying to read a daily chart based on fucking 1 minute candles, and that's just not most people. And even in that case, you just have like a certain amount of variance that is going to get you because you're, you know, looking for a black cat in a dark room, as they say in Russian. And they're just patterns and signals that simply don't fucking mean anything. And you'd be better off just looking at the higher time frame. You start basically hallucinating on lower time frames, I think, a lot of the time, if you try to get too granular with it, you know? Like you're so obsessed and fixated on getting the right high time frame signal that you end up staring at a tick chart being like, this is the daily wick and this is a 1 minute break in market structure, which means the daily level is going to hold. It's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing here? You know?
Yeah, I 100%.
A bit ranty, but I feel like in price action trading circles, the most popular thing nowadays is just to try to avoid risk. And that just seems very counterintuitive to trading, you know? It's like, okay, we'll wait for this close, then wait for that close, then wait for this confirmation, then wait for this break of market structure. Can I take a fucking trade, please? Like, why is this a fucking Boeing pre-flight checklist I have to go through before putting some risk on? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you just have to, like, sometimes you have to put the balls on the line. It's just you should really be looking for opportunities where there's a good chance that you're not going to get a hammer on them, you know? Like the first is basically what we talked about earlier when we talked about first test, second test, third test, right? Like sometimes you just have to be like, fuck it. This is support. We roll, right? We had that like when you look at Bitcoin, we had that massive nuke into like on the 19th, 18th of March into that support, right? Like it's the first test. Fuck it, right? Like that's where you kind of like risk it. But then the more often you kind of go back to that, at some point the guy swinging the hammer is gonna hit your nuts, right? And you're like,
I don't know what you guys do in Germany, but sure.
Oh yeah, I mean it's my favorite pastime. Anyway, like you have to kind of like you have to take risks in trading, but you want to take the good risks, right? And oftentimes, and this is something that I think a lot of people just get wrong, because it's very human in nature. Like when it is the scariest, you actually have the least risk, and when it is like when you feel like, oh yeah, this is very safe, you're actually in quite a bit of danger, right? And yeah, it's something that I try to avoid. Even like with range as well, like I see a lot of people be like, hey, this range held up like 5 times, like it's gonna hold up the 6th time. And I'm like, I don't know, like let me see how this plays out, this whole range at this point, and then I can take new trades once you have a little bit of kind of like a breakout of sorts in either direction. It's much less risky to me. But I think there's trading styles for everyone, and there's people that can take advantage of stuff where it's like a move is overdue. For me, I rather kind of like have the move. Like I get an aggressive move and I take advantage of people getting liquidated, or just generally take advantage of people kind of mispricing.
You do love to take advantage of people, Don.
Oh yeah, love it. I
love when your personal ethics spill over into your trading. It really makes sense once you think about it.
Yeah, it's just how it is. At least in the order books, right? Otherwise I'd be selling courses.
I was gonna say, I hope you're safe in the flood. With Don, the last chart that we have here. Again, it trades very fucking technically. So I think for any price action enjoyer, this is one for the watch list, irrespective of what you may think of the token or whatever. That daily cluster was a perfect resistance level on the underside of $3. And we're sort of back towards the local extreme of $2.20. So there's a real range for you between $2.20 and $3. That's currently what's cooking. But obviously, this is the first time we've had a daily market structure shift on this thing to the downside, like ever, realistically. So that's worth bearing in mind. I don't think anything above the daily time frame is particularly useful. Like if you go down to the weekly, all you're going to get is 40 cents support type of thing. And at that point, everyone is dead. So I don't know
at that point, the meme is gone.
At that point, it's very hard. Yeah, the hat might come off at that point. So I really think the daily time frame is the highest time frame you're going to get if you have any desire to trade remotely relevant technical levels. Is there anything else you want to add to this? Are you of the view that this market structure shifted, broke to the downside, and that's it? This thing's in the downtrend now, or what's okay?
So like I look at this thing, right, and I feel like I am allowed to say this because I was funding this at like almost $3, which is quite a bit higher than where we are.
I
right
funded
now.
the bearish retest, so I can give you my clout capital for whatever outlandish bearish thing you're gonna say now.
Yeah, no, but basically we had the high at 4.5, then we made the lower high at 4.2, and you can technically draw a range between like 3.2 and 2.2 ish, like that we broke out of to the upside, right? Like we had on this is all on the daily chart, so we had a range between like 2.2 ish and 3.2. We broke to the upside, and then we got this whole lower high shenanigans, and now we broke back into the range. And I mean, this is a setup that a lot of people kind of are familiar with on this show, because I mean, I keep talking about it. It's basically false breakout, right? And back into the range. I don't like it anymore unless it starts trading above 3.2. And I know that's like you're gonna miss out on like 20-30% of price action, like positive price action. But I think it's much better than sitting in a thing that might just gravitate towards like zero, right? And there's a possibility it does, just based on the fact that it's a meme, and the meme cycle is one where once the meme has run its course, it goes down 90%, and it has not gone down 90%. It's only gone down 50% so far. So I just don't like it. I think it's not a decent trade anymore. But obviously could still go up, and that's why I'm saying 3.2 is kind of like the line in the sand. Like if it reclaims that, then can keep going up for all I care. It's just at this point,
you wouldn't buy it though, would you? You're too ideological to buy whiff at like 3.30.
Yeah, it kind of like I'd rather buy Doge at that point.
Yeah, but surely you need. Doesn't this belong in the retail hedge portfolio, Don?
Oh, I mean it could, but I generally think.
You can't have standards for the retail hedge, Don.
So
that's antithetical to what a retail hedge is.
So I generally like ETH better than Sol, right? So I'm kind of like, why would I want to be betting on like meme coin on Sol if I can bet on a meme coin on, for example, Pepe? I would rather buy.
Right.
But yeah, I don't find it too interesting. But it's not the worst coin. There's much worse ones.
Yeah, at least it's fucking technical. It's got that saving grace.
And I think at above 3.2, like I wouldn't want to be bearish on it. But until that's reclaimed, I think this is clearly bearish.
And that's not that fucking far away, right? You're not missing out on that much. I mean, maybe like 2 days of outperformance or whatever. But then you have a very clear invalidation there. And again, these types of invalidations, like if you take a super choppy coin and you're like, this is the line in the sand, I'm inclined not to take you seriously, right? Because that shit is so noisy. But this thing trades so well, I think it's worth putting some weight behind those invalidations and those technical levels in general, because they've been doing things. But then, of course, the logical corollary of that is if 220 fails, the arse is falling out of this thing. So there you go. Don, that's all we have for this show. I guess the basic summary is stuff is at support. If it goes up, we weren't bearish. If it goes down, we weren't bullish. What do you think?
Yeah, perfectly balanced.
Perfectly balanced, like all things. Radical centrism on Technical Roundup is taking over. And we've got a whole Casual Friday episode tomorrow to pontificate about BTC and how triple tops are generational. So that'll be a fun discussion to have, even though you're not a believer in the macro triple tops.
No.
And the monthly close coming up in 2 weeks as well. So not...
Dude, time flies.
We've got things... Yeah, I mean, this year is like a third of the way done?
Yeah, it's scary.
Which is kind of shocking. And
I've
achieved nothing. Run it back, please.
Please.
How's your running? How's your family life? Anything you want to update the viewers about so they dox you and live in your floorboards?
I mean, you made that very unappealing to me.
Fantastic.
No, I mean, running's going decent. I mean, 3 months for a marathon is very short, I've noticed. I think it's a little bit retarded on my end, but I'll get through it. And family life is decent. I mean, I wish I could got a little bit more sleep, but it is what it is. We re-roll. We can cope with it. It's okay.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Well, if you enjoy this show, leave us a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got another episode coming to you tomorrow in the form of Casual Friday. Poor Don, 3 videos, 3 days in a row, clearly overworked here. We're going to have a chat with HR about these inhumane working conditions, just sitting like an ape on his chair talking into a microphone about candlesticks.
Do you have a camera in here? Or how do you
I just know you don't know how to sit properly on a chair. So
I actually don't. I think you could pick me out. Like if you sat like 100,000 people on a chair and a desk in front of them, I think you could pick me out.
It'd
like,
be you and XQC.
Yeah.
Which isn't a good thing.
He doesn't measure up to my ape index on that one.
Oh god, I hate to see it. In any case, we probably lost our run by now, but thank you for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you to Woo for supporting the show. They've got some fun stuff coming up, actually, which we'll get to talk about in the near future. It always sounds cringe influencery, like, ooh, big announcement, big news soon. There's some fun integrations that we'll discuss. Maybe there'll be some Casual Friday counter trading, wink wink, nudge nudge. I've said too much, Don. I've said too much. I hope you all have a wonderful Thursday. We'll see you for the show tomorrow. And yeah, time for your bye-bye, Don.
Bye-bye.